Vivian Doumpa is an Athens-based urban planner and geographer with a specialisation in creative and inclusive placemaking. She has international experience of placemaking and citizens' inclusion and participation in urban planning, especially in matters of public space and neighbourhood revitalization. Throughout her work, she integrates aspects of socio-cultural management, non-formal education, community building, and systemic change. She coordinates the local office of STIPO, an international team for urban development with offices in the Netherlands, Italy, and Greece, and is a board member of Placemaking Europe network. In this episode, we talked about her passion for music and people, creative and cultural economy, and her lessons and wisdom around these topics.
Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. I am Asban Sari, the founder of the organization Peacemakers Pakistani, and I am bringing you the stories of placemakers, artists, and professionals from around the globe about how they created an impact and made change happen. You are listening to the Making It Happen show. Thank you for joining in. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, Vivian. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you and how's life going?
Hi, Asba. Thank you very much for inviting me for this chat. All well. I'm here in sunny Athens, and yeah, we're getting used to the rhythm of the spring now. We're in this situation. Yes.
Great. I love Greece. I was once I love Greece and I follow a lot of pages related to it. I don't know why. And once I was just in the flow of writing something, and the statement that came up to my head was maybe heart. It was Greece. It feels like home. And I'm so excited to chat with you because a place that I want to be someday. I'm chatting with someone who had lived there. So I was very excited to meet you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation with you.
Thank you too. Me too. I also look forward to visiting Pakistan at some point. It's in my checklist for sure. Yes.
Thank you so much. Excited about that. I would love to host you here. Let's see when it
Thank you.
happens, inshallah, soon. Okay, so let's
Thank you.
begin. And I would like to know that how did you find your passion for public spaces and placemaking?
Mm. So I was raised in a family where my mom is a doctor and my father is an architect. So I was not so much for the medicine, let's say. It felt a little bit not my kind. So I remember since a young child, I would walk around cities or villages or, rural areas with my father, and we would always observe how people live in these places. So I think something got into me that I wanted to study how people live in these spaces and what is the value of nature and all of these things. So in the beginning, I wanted to study architecture. Fortunately, I did not. I don't think I would have been a good designer, to put it that way. So life led me to urban planning. And it was during the university times that I also had very, very supportive and very good professors that were leading me. They were seeing my skills, my interest, and everything, and were leading me towards geography, urban geography. And that's when I also started my master's in urban geography. And I think this is when it hit me because until then, until my master's, I wasn't sure exactly, am I interested in into bigger scale development and planning or what? And during my master's, I realized that yes, I would like to focus on the public space. And in public space, it was also where I saw myself thinking more in a complete way, to be honest, because I had the natural elements, I had people, I had politics, I had, of course, design aspects. So I think all of my interests, in the end of the day, meet in public and open spaces. And that's why I'm passionate about it.
Great. And what about placemaking? Where does it fit in? Like, which aspects of placemaking do you enjoy most?
Huh. Placemaking came actually as an enlightenment, to be honest. Again, during my master's, that my thesis was about music performance in public space and how it changes the way we perceive and experience the urban environment. I was looking for a framework that could fit not only, design elements, but also the experience of a place. Of course, theoretically, I found lots of resources about phenomenological approaches, and lots of content there, but I couldn't find something more applied and more community driven. And that's where placemaking came to fill in a huge gap that I had in my own way of perceiving how music can affect public space and the urban daily life. Um, so for me, placemaking gives me an opportunity to review different negotiations that could happen in public space. Again, what I mentioned before, how does the natural environment come into being in public spaces? How do people socialize, interact, how accessible it is? But also how do other kinds of negotiations, again, political ones, like how safe do I feel in a public space? How am I allowed to express my right to speak in public space? And this was part of my study for music in public space. So all of these elements came together, and I think they found a very nice container, to put it that way, in placemaking. So for me, placemaking is like a bowl, if I can put it that way, a container, where I can put different elements every time, but hold it in a very stabilized way, but also flexible.
Yes,
Yes,
it's such an expensive term that it covers a lot of things, and we can all fit in together. So that's
yes,
really
exactly.
nice. Yes. Okay, so like I really like to ask this question that how do you personally define a place, a sense of place, and what connects you to a place? And now that you have shared that you did your master's on observing about the music impact on a place, so anything shifted in the both um, ways how you see it in your perception of a place before and after doing your master's, or the
Mm,
maybe?
I think, and maybe it's also a matter of growing up, to be honest. So I think I remember myself being younger, I would observe, of course, the design of a public space, if it was aesthetically nice, the buildings, the infrastructure. And then after my studies, I started seeing all the other elements, the more soft elements. And the older I get, the less important, to be honest, the physical and design elements become. And I give more value to the governance of a place, including the political aspect, how people feel in the space. For instance, if it is a place that means something to them, if they would come back to this place or not. Safety. Um, so yeah, I think the older I get, the more intangible um, aspects do I value in a public space more.
Right. And how's the, like a sense of place and how is safety and security in Greece is for you? I think
Mm.
that's what I would try to ask.
Mm. Mm. Lately, I think it's getting worse, to be honest. Yes, we have had, unfortunately, lots of incidents, criminal incidents of assault to femininities and people of other sexual identities. So, and also to people of different origin, migrants, refugees. So, since the crisis that we faced, I think, yeah, 10 years ago, I think safety in public space has declined, to be honest. It might be getting more into the discourse how important it is to have accessible and safe public spaces and inclusive. But in the end of the day, I think it's becoming worse, unfortunately. Yeah.
Mm. We have a different sort of places, or maybe let's say there's different sort of
Mm.
planning in Lahore. I live in Lahore. So
Mm-hmm.
there used to be compact neighborhood spaces, then we moved towards a bit wider roads in the societies and then extremely wider roads. So
Mm,
I do sometimes feel that chances of assault in compact neighborhoods, if there is no eyes on the street, is more
mm,
obvious and more easy, I guess, um,
mhm.
than compared to the societies because you have no room to run faster.
Yes.
It's very easy to be overwhelmed by someone else's presence in the
Mm,
compact neighborhoods. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just something that I always feel like if I'm seeing a picture or something or a video and I see myself standing there in the middle of the night or maybe sometime in the crowd, like one woman in a crowd of men, it's daunting to me. So is
mm.
it, do you think it's same? It's right?
For, for sure. I mean, I can partly remember, or I know from stories from my parents and the elder generation that cities in Greece used to be way more, they were dense, but of course they were lower buildings, so they would also have the front yard. So people would interact more with the public space. There were more eyes on the street. And then indeed it was safer. So I also know from our own context here in Greece that eyes on the street do make a difference. And even in smaller places around Greece, sometimes I also use this photo of grandmothers sitting in a village and, gossiping as well, being the eyes on the street of these grandmas. But this does mean that someone is there, it offers safety. Yes, and I have the feeling, but I don't have the data for that Greek cities developed in a very quick way. It was almost like a stress that we had to face to adjust to what safety means to us. Which means that yes, the urbanization happened very rapidly, and people did not have the time to adjust to things like that. What does it mean to live in public space, or what does it mean to have eyes on the street? However, one good thing that is happening in Greek cities, and it happened initially for economic reasons, but in the end, it's also good for the sense of safety in the public space, is that most of the apartment blocks in the ground floor, they have shops, uh, even in smaller streets. So even in the night, even if the shops might be closed, there will always be a light. You will always have more clear surfaces that you feel, okay, it's not, blocks or something. And this has helped a lot planning wise.
Nice. Yes, and it makes sense because it's called as living townhouse something. Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
the term, I guess. Like the ground floors has to be the shops and the living apartments on the upper floors.
Yeah.
And yes, that makes sense that um the building should not be very tall, so it's
Mm-hmm.
less daunting on the streets. True.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so like I told you that I'm excited to know about Greece and
Yeah.
someone who has lived there. So would you like to share any place attachment stories that you have with your place?
And any stories that I have about placemaking, you mean, from Greece?
About places, like about Greece, your attachment stories to Greece.
Okay. I have different, to be honest. One thing that I don't know if you know it, probably you know it since you follow uh, content about Greece, is that Greece is definitely not Acropolis and Parthenon of Athens, and it's not only the islands with the small white houses and blue doors, etc. So one thing that I appreciate in my country a lot, and it was also one of the reasons that I moved back. I was living in the Netherlands for 5, 6 years, and one of the reasons that I moved back is also this plurality and variety that Greece offers in places, in landscapes. We have high mountains that you can hike over the winter. We do have snow, or at least we used to have snow. This year we didn't have almost any snow. You have smaller cities, you have bigger cities. And I think these are the kind of places that it gives me a little bit of comfort and a nice feeling, the fact that I can move around within my country and change perspective and change environment. So one weekend I might be on the mountain, the next during the week I will be in my town, and the next weekend I can be by the beach. And this is quite precious. Yes.
Lovely. And yes, it makes sense because it humbles you in a very different way, I think.
Mm.
The different
Yes.
experiences. And I can feel it in your soul.
Thank
Very nice.
you.
Okay. I love the work that STIPO is doing, and I've been following them along. And would you like to talk about the STIPO and the work that you have been doing, and especially in the about the children? Like I'm
Mm.
passionate about making things better for the children because they are going to grow up and make better things better for themselves and the future generations as well. So would you like to guide on this aspect?
Yes. So Stipo, if I'm not mistaken, is active for at least 20 years. Um, I get to know the team when I was living in the Netherlands back in 2013, 2014. It's already 10 years that I know them, and we work together. Um, I don't know how it is in Pakistan, but for me it was quite, again, inspiring and enlightening. The fact that I met an office, I met a team that was not working, not at all in the traditional way that urban planning offices were working in Greece. So imagine that the team of Stipo, I don't think that anyone is an engineer in the Netherlands. No. Well, in Greece, it's mostly engineers, the urban planning agencies. We have psychologists, we have political scientists, we have, of course, designers, we have an architect. Yes, we do have an architect. We have urbanists, geographers. So this plurality of backgrounds and way of thinking gives very different perspectives on how we do work and allows for innovation. And one of the things that Stipo has been trying to do, yes, of course, develop strategies, master plans, projects, etc., but always investing on social innovation. And this is part also of the business plan that we have. So how can we, of course, make business and improve the living environments that we have, while, of course, offering something back to society and to the communities. And one of the things that we have been doing, for instance, the projects that we started developing about children, were initially an investment of ours. So it all started with the book, with the Set a Tie Level for Kids project, that the main team that we drove the project from the side of Stipo and the Set a Tie Level. I will say in a second what the Set a Tie Level is. It was Hans Karsenberg and Rosa Dannenberg and myself leading the project. And of course, during the process, we met lots of very nice people. And what we had in mind was, okay, we talk about placemaking, we talk about specific places for whom it was mostly for adults. Adults, and we take how's it called? A medium of what a person can mean. But this is not how it should be happening. So we decided that, okay, we already have an approach that's called the Sit a Tie Level. You can find the books and our methodologies online. We offer them open source. So this is also part of our giving back to the society. What if we took this methodology and approach and see what it would be like for children, and especially very, very, very young children? So imagine that in our approach of this book, we included pregnant women, so children still inside the belly of their moms, and up to 3, 4 years old. The interesting aspect, what we gained from this project, is the understanding that it's not so much about developing spaces and places that are only dedicated for children, or that we focus on the safety of the children. Of course, it's important to focus on the safe, but we try to turn it the other side up. What we made the whole city, the whole public spaces, the mobility infrastructure, uh, safe for children um, according to the needs of the children and the caretakers. And instead of focusing only on safety, we decided to focus how to make these environments learning, learning environments for the child in order to grow in an independent way. And that was a completely mind shift for us. And imagine that this was happening in 2016. Since then, fortunately, lots of things are happening around the world that has to do with child-friendly cities and these approaches. And of course, we were also not the first ones to do it. But it's really inspiring to see how we all built up as a global community on the topic around this theme. And the last thing, because, okay, STIPO is in the Netherlands, but we are based as STIPO Greece in Greece. So we run the local office of STIPO together with my colleagues Iris and Dimitra. The reason why we focus also on this age group, so children and youth, is because we realize that it's the only way to bring the systemic change that you mentioned. So it's the only way to build the next generation of active citizens who will also politically claim for the right to improve and to change their cities and living environments. I talked a lot, I'm sorry, but I wanted to give you a full picture.
No, I was listening to it, and I'm happy to hear that. And the book is very inspiring. First of all, the topic was very inspiring to me, the perspective of observing city from the eye level, and then
Mhm.
and then the shift happened. Then the book came, city at eye level
Mhm.
of kids
Exactly.
for kids, and it was so interesting. And I've seen the book, and I love that. And I'm
Mhm.
so happy that you are part of it. It covers a lot of things, and we are looking forward to practice it and observe it from in our own context. So
Mhm.
it was just a reminder that yes, we have to do it this year, inshallah. And yes, the point that you mentioned about the systematic change, it's that's important too. But the problem I often face is about engaging the different age groups and
Mhm.
the experience of bringing their voices in the place, because sometimes people are reluctant to share and
Mhm.
the thing that they are not confident enough to talk about it. And you mentioned
Mhm.
that their empowerment is important,
Mhm.
that perspective is important. So how do you ensure that first? Like, what steps have you taken for them to participate and be empowered? Maybe because I think in a very complex manner. I believe that. And oftentimes
Mhm.
I'm told that be a more simple think in a more simplistic simple manner, because it's a very simple thing. So I think if
Mhm.
I just ask you for that part, it will be helpful. But like a lot of things that we have faced, we face different sort of traumas as a child in in different ways of life. So that runs in the system. So I have
Mhm.
known a lot of young people, adults, even myself, that have the traumas in their mind, and it serves as
Mhm.
a barrier for them, and then they
Mhm.
don't talk about it, and it affects in different areas of life. So how do we cover all those things, or maybe something, and ensure that different age groups participate? Is there
Mhm.
anything that you would like to say, and what were the lessons, maybe, to just make it less overwhelming, I would say?
Mhm. I think, as you said, it differs very much from context to context. So, and for the age group, so it has many factors that affect how you will approach. An example that I can offer is that when we were doing the CTTA level for kids, we piloted the methodology in Stockholm, in Sweden, and in my hometown in Thessaloniki, in Greece. And we realized that we had to adjust completely the methodology. Imagine that it was one day workshop, so it was not a long-term process, because this is also a factor that you need to take into account. Do you want to engage the children in a one-day event, a workshop, or is it something that you're building on for the long term? In our case, it was a short term, just to put it because it's important. And we realized that the parenting culture is so much different between Sweden and Greece that we needed to completely adjust the tools that we were using. For instance, in Sweden, we noticed that the child has the lead over, uh, let's say, the couple of parent, of caretaker and the child about what the child wants to do. So, for instance, if the child no longer wants to stay there and wants to leave, the parent will follow, the caregiver will follow the child. In Greece, it was different. In Greece, we realized that the parent, the caregiver, was leading the moment. So if the caregiver needed to stay there and discuss with us, they would try to keep the child as close as possible in order to be able to be in the moment with us. So these are things that affect a lot, for instance. Um, However, I think, if I can call it like that, a universal finding that I had is that it takes a lot of time, especially if you want to do long-term projects and really empower children, no matter the age. You need to gain the trust. Um, you need to gain the trust. You need to be talking to them as equals. They need to feel that you're not there to use them, which I think is also it's the same as with adults, but with children even more because they feel it. They feel these thin lines. And and sometimes, and I very much realized that after some years of working with that, us as facilitators of these processes, we also need to train ourselves with these processes. I was lucky enough because I had opportunities to become a better facilitator, not for general groups, but also for children. I also had colleagues around me that knew how to do that, so I was observing and learning a lot from them. Um, yes, so being open, acting as equals, because we are, and giving a lot of time, giving space, trust, and flexibility, I would say, to adjust the manners and the tools.
How sweet you put it in such a, in a very good manner, like the way you said, in a very simplistic manner. Again, I would say,
Mm,
um, to observe the culture of
mm,
parenting. That's so true because sometimes it's parent who are leading and sometimes it's the children who are leading. And we have to
mm,
accept it rather than fight it and
mm,
then develop a workshop according to that. That
mhm,
could work best and then use the tools. And of course, I think children to children it vary as well. Like some children are talkative, some
mhm,
are more expressive in terms of visual things like pictures and writing as well. So I think all of these have to be incorporated in a workshop,
mhm.
right?
Exactly, definitely. And give opportunities even to those. I mean, I remember, I don't know how it was in your schooling days, but I remember in Greek schools how I grew up. Those children that were more silent inside the classroom back in the days, they would force them to speak. And I was like, even since then, why do you force them? They will find their own chance, they will find their means to express. And I think this also should be transferred now in the work we work with children, together with children. Give space, give time, and it will come. Yeah.
Yes, like you said, that we have to learn a lot of things and bring change in our personalities as well, because it's very difficult. Sometimes it's very difficult to, okay, I initially I used to think that it's difficult to work with children than
Mm,
adults, but I found it that it's a reverse. It's difficult to talk with young adults than
mm,
children because children are more open and less fearful of things,
mhm,
whereas young adults here are more prone to being judged. They
mm,
have a fear of judgment, so they
mhm,
hardly talk about things or express their opinion. So it's very difficult to gain their trust and then
mm,
have them talking and sharing about their desires or their aspirations and the changes. or on the other side, some of them are very silent and some of them are very violent. They
Yes.
would express in a manner that would trigger you and it will lead to something else. So yes, these two, this is a very long process. It was a slow process. I had to learn a lot of things being a young adult myself after the
Mhm.
graduation. So thank you so much. These lessons were very valuable, and we'll keep experimenting on it and learning these things. And yes, the diversity in the team is important as well as it's very exciting. Like I do try to find people from different professions myself, but
Mhm.
it's difficult to have people who share the passion of public spaces
Yes.
and the community's well-being. Great,
They might not have thought about it as, but I mean, at
really.
some point that I was inviting educators or arts educators that work with children. Uh, it was also through a process of togetherness that we were trying to build how are we going to match, and they would then understand the value of public space, and I would understand the value of specific educational approaches. And I think this is beautiful how we bring things together. Yeah.
Yes, it's the for personally for me the process has been very humbling, and that's why I'm very much dedicated to this. But we live in the times when people just want to see the result, and
True.
that puts us into doubt somehow. But what I
True.
love about this podcast, meeting different people and how they share their journey, and they always say that it's a slow process, but very rewarding. So
Mm.
I love that part. I love to meet people and have this acknowledgement from them.
As well, if can I add something, especially for the youth?
Yeah.
And I also want to ask you how you experience it, since you work with young adults and youth. Something that I have noticed that I did not have in mind when working in Thessaloniki, in my hometown, for many months, together with a specific group of young people, youth meaning aged 15 to 17. So it was this year frame, age frame. They felt that they did not matter, that they did not have a voice. Uh, it was not so much about, training them to make a small change, doing tactical urbanism or something. We realized with my colleague back then, who is a youth mentor, so she could really see through what was happening in there, that youth in Greece, but I think also maybe elsewhere, it is an age group that is like a vacuum, if I can put it that way. So we might focus a lot on children until primary school, maybe earlier years of high school, and we might think of them as university students. But what happens in between, in their adolescence, it's uh, it's very critical. And we realized that the main issues that we had to tackle with them was the feeling that they felt that they did not matter, or that all their efforts will go to vain, or whatever they will do, someone will come and destroy it and will cancel it. So this was a huge eye opener about the importance of working with different age groups, and especially youth. For me, this is my favorite, if I can put it that way, in yes, age group, because you can really push on some very important buttons of empowerment and systemic change. Yes, I don't know how it is in Pakistan with youth.
Yes, I'm glad that you pointed that out. And since I have a passion towards um, the mental health and emotional health aspects and the the psychological behavior of human beings, then I did realize that we haven't paid much attention to this
Mm,
age group because it's a transition from childhood to adulthood.
mhm,
So they are here in Pakistan, we are more prone to being inclined or being forced to be obedient and to be
mm,
more submissive, I would say, to the systems, to the elders. And So the youth, they try to find their voice, but they don't know how. The counseling is very much missing, and then um, the links of, like, if they have an anger towards something they face in childhood, they will be dismissed and they will not be
Mm.
validated, and then they would either be rebellious in the future, or they will either be very submissive and giving up their rights.
Yes.
This is something that we face here, and this is the reason why I realized that a lot of young adults were not able to share their opinion because they don't know they exactly the thing that they thought that it doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
a lot of people are stuck in their phase in a certain age, even if they're at the age of adulthood. And
Exactly.
that's very discouraging or maybe disappointing, and it has brought a lot of grief. That's what I would say. And I wouldn't say that I survived the all of this thing without any problem. I did suffer as well, and I had to come out of it. And I am passionate about inspiring the youth to come out of it as well. So I do keep focus on a lot of aspects of from this perspective, and that also means that through Peacemakers Pakistan, there was a problem that some people were asking me that it's all about public spaces. I was like, no, it's more about it is about public spaces, but it's a tool to bring people to talk on things. But my major passion is about the empowerment of people from within. Like, if they feel empowered, they will make change. Definitely.
Exactly.
However possible. So I want to break free them from their own internal barriers. So that's so true that you have pointed out that they lack that voice. They feel they don't matter, they are not enough, and so they are not very hopeful about things, not positive about life. That's true. And the
Exactly.
we as adults, I guess, have to make the shift uh, more easy for them for from the childhood to adulthood. I'm not very sure how, but this is something that we need to work on.
Yes. I think the understanding of the role as citizens, and
Mm.
citizens meaning with a broader political term, that I have the rights, I have the responsibility to participate in what is happening around me. I think this is a very important bridge that from childhood to adulthood we forget to make. And we only stay into, okay, did you do your homework or did you wash the dishes? But it's not like that. It's also the broader identity of what it means to be part of a wholeness of a society and community.
Exactly, and I think we can brainstorm something maybe and think about it, because if you learn something about it, do share with me, and I will do so as well.
Yes, would love to.
Yes, I would like to focus on it because it's a pain point.
Yes. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I'm glad you discussed it.
Mm.
Okay, so I would like to ask you that how do you define the creative ecosystem of urban place? Like, if you focus on Greece, and I think it involves the street performances as well. Like,
Mhm.
it's a great term, and I think I have read from your profile. So I would like to
Mhm.
hear it from you.
Um, the creative ecosystem in Greece. I'm also currently studying it in partly, so it's an interesting question because I'm also trying to answer it for myself, to be honest. Um, I think the creative ecosystem for the last at least maybe 10 years in Greece has been in a transition. And I will focus a little bit on the ecosystem first, and then I will also refer to the street performance and basking. The creative ecosystem in Greece, including the cultural sector, but also more the creative professionals, has been transitioning from being something more that comes from the bottom up, or being very institutional, so either grassroots or very institutional, meaning whatever the ministry might be doing, or the national theater, etc., we are developing for the last 10 years, I would say so, a middle layer that involves a lot of cultural production and creative production, lots of professionals that also have the drive to have also social impact. And to be honest, for me, in this creative ecosystem, I also add our sector of organizations like civil society organizations who try to bring change in societies and urban environments by using also creative tools. And imagine that maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you would either find activists, so people doing these things, but not as a profession, and you would find what was happening in the institutional. And it's only recently that we're trying to find ourselves a place that we can fit in somewhere in between, that we are professionals, we're trying to make a living out of that, but also trying to keep a very close eye to what's happening on the field, on the base of the society, and try to transfer important issues, negotiations that are happening on the ground through culture and creativity to the wider content, context, and audience. And it's not easy, to be honest. Because we are kind of trying alone to do that. The fact that we are in European Union and there are funds, funding from European Union to help us do that, helps a lot, but puts us also a little bit in a precarious position when it comes to funding our own initiatives. There are also big foundations, private foundations, philanthropic foundations here in Greece that try to fund this middle level, but it also raises some political question about who drives the cultural and creative agenda of the country. Is it private foundations because of the funding that they give? And the state, the government is trying to do, I will try to say, they're trying to do their best, but it's not enough. Because we are lacking policies that support the creative ecosystem, we're lacking funding, and I think we also lack visibility, to be honest. So just to give you an idea about that. Now, when it comes to basking and street performers, again, I think the roots, at least for me, from that, comes from the fact that I was raised as a musician, but I was never brave or good enough, I thought, to say that I'm going to practice it. However, I have it very much rooted in me, the musical aspect. So when the time came that it was to decide about my master thesis, I had also my professors from Greece, I also had my professors from the Netherlands said, try to combine them. So I did my thesis on music in public space, music performance in public space. So the fact that someone is physically in public space performing music, because it's completely different than having a sound system. And then I met from that one of a very dear friend of mine and partner, Nick Broad, who runs the Basking Project. That was in 2012, many years ago. And he was also doing this kind of studies and trying to advocate for the right of street performers in general, not only musicians, but also other kind of acts, to be in public space, to make their own living out of this practice, because it is a profession. It's not just like that. So we met each other, we started working a lot on that, mostly internationally, and developing studies and advocacy content. Now for Greece, it's one of these cases that, yes, you will find lots of street musicians and street performers because it offers a lot of value to public space and a lot of identity, to be honest, as well. It's one of the main impacts that it has. But again, there is not a specific framework that these professionals, these artists can perform in public space. It's a little bit blurred. So sometimes you will find performers being drawn to police stations because someone made a complaint and they thought that they are illegally there, but no one knows actually what is legal or illegal. It's a little bit blurred, but yes, there are voices that are trying to make it legal, or at least provide a framework that these artists can be performing in public space. I
Yes.
don't know if I answered the question. Yeah.
It means that they are trying to make it safe for them to make their earnings, right?
Safe, but also there are two ways, again, you can view it. As I was saying with the children, the one is how do you make it safe,
Uh,
but also how do you make it attractive? Because it's not that the city is doing a favor to the performers and artists to play it in the streets. It's the other way around. It's the artist doing a favor to the city. So
yes.
how do you make your city attractive for the talent to come and perform in your veins, in your streets?
Yes,
Yes.
and that's actually the right way to approach it because we don't value the artist, I guess. The the marketing is being done in such a manner that the customers are more paid attention to instead of
Mhm.
the artist. I don't know why, but it is true that it's happening. Okay, so the way
Mhm.
you have put it, that shows that the creative ecosystem doesn't involve just the artist or the artwork. It involves the one who are funding it as well, the one who are managing it as well,
Mhm.
and the one who are running the place as well, right?
Mhm. Exactly.
The
Yes,
whole
yes.
network is the part of creative ecosystem and responsible for it.
Exactly. Mhm.
Great. Thank you, Vian. Okay, so these questions were especially for you, and
Mhm.
I loved whatever you have shared. It was very informative, and especially the way you have put things into perspective into a very simple manner. And these were very helpful. Thank you so much. Um, okay, now I would like to ask you a question that I ask everyone. It's sort of rapid fire. So let's see.
Mhm.
I would like to know that what drives you, what keeps you focused on the work that you do.
Mm. What drives me? Because you shared this question before, I was trying to think deeply, etc. For me, and I think that I realized it when I started working with the youth. My main drive is how to what we were saying before, how to share myself a little bit as and my knowledge and my expertise and my networks, um, for people to be more empowered to be part of society. So I realized, as you were mentioning for Pakistan, in Greece as well, while I was growing up, I didn't feel like I had the means, the agency to speak out. Uh, from the family, from the school, from everything. It's very difficult to raise your voice as a child, or it was difficult for me that I'm born in 1986. Um, so for me, it really touches me when I'm creating these moments and these places where people are free to express themselves, uh, to talk, to exchange, to sing, to play, whatever this might be, but as long as they feel free and safe and comfortable to express. And fortunately, this also translates to physical space. But this, even if I didn't have this, I think the critical part for me is the first one.
So, such a noble cause it is, I would say, now a noble purpose. And it's like you're healing your inner child, it's catering
Yeah,
your inner child while you cater the other ones. True.
exactly. Very well put. Yes.
Because I think the ones I know who are doing something for others are all of them are doing this. They are doing it for their inner child and themselves. Okay, so would you like to share any proudest moment of your work life?
Proud. I think I always come back to this project, which was also my first one that I did in Greece with the youth. And proud and most emotional, I would say, is that after we completed the project, we decided to make a documentary, small documentary. You can also find it on YouTube about the project itself. And we invited also the participating youth to talk about it. And as mentioned before, always in a group of youth, you have those that are more talkative, they're more able to express themselves, and you have those that are more silent, or those who might be, the little bit warm, they will tease things, they will be a little bit more active, etc. So when we invited the students, the youth, to volunteer who would like to speak in the documentary, of course, we had the people who are always there to speak. And we also had two children, two youth, that the one was the teaser inside the class, and the other one was the silent one. And they came out that they want to speak about the project. We did not lead them at all about what they were saying. And it is so emotional to me, the fact that they spoke like that about the project. The project. I don't even like to say the project anymore. It's way more bigger than me, for me. So I think this is one of the proudest moments of mine. And it was also followed up from the fact that some of these students, they told me that they took inspiration from the process that we had together. And afterwards, they studied something that had its roots in the work that we have done for 6 months. And I still see them doing projects in Thessaloniki that are relevant to active citizenship, public space, arts, culture. And I mean, I couldn't ask for a bigger, moment of pride, to be honest. But it's not my pride, it's there. It's theirs. I'm there to, yeah, I don't know. But to admire. Yes, I'm there to admire.
I think it's due to the shared purpose of life, I guess, that I feel
Mm.
proud of it too. I got seeing you
Mm.
getting emotional about it, I feel emotional as well, and uh, I hope that we get to cherish some more moments like this in life. I
Mm.
hope so, inshallah. Okay, so
Yeah.
what was the project name? I would like to see that on YouTube and link
Yeah, it's
everything
called
helpful.
it's called Topio, Topio.
Okay,
Uh, and the subtitle is Creative Placemaking for Young Community Leaders.
great.
Uh, we have frozen it for the last years, but it's something that I would really like to come back to. Yeah, I think it was a project with a lot of impact for the youth, for the way we plan our cities. I think it's my moment of pride, if I can put it that way. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the hardest moment of your work life that you struggled a lot?
Ah, hardest moment. I will say challenging moment. Those that you need to take deep breaths and say it's going to work. Yeah. Um, I don't think it's one moment per se, but it's something that we're really trying to tackle here in Greece. And it is, okay, one way it's the funding. So how do you make your organization sustainable? La, 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 la. Okay. The other thing is, how do you break open the system of urban planning, the formal urban planning, for processes like that to be part of it? And practically what this means, because it sounds a little bit theoretical, but practically it means that, yes, you have developed, for instance, you have done a project, and it was one of our recent projects now here in Athens, a mobility project with the involvement of the community, with some support from the municipality, though it was a project of the municipality. You have done it, you have brought it up to one stage, and then the government changes because we had elections, and then it falls apart. Or you don't know, there's a big question mark about what's going to happen to that. So I think these are the moments that frustrate me the most. I haven't, and we haven't found yet a way to be on top of it. So in order to be able, to do all this constant follow-up that you need to do, to this constant advocacy that you need to do for these things. So I think this is the hardest moments in our professional life as placemakers here in Greece. How do you make it more systemic and in a way that it's impactful for the longer term and not just for the moment empowerment aspect that you might bring for the moment. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I guess it's relatable to most of the places around the world. And it's here as well. Sometimes I even think that what's the point of starting it right at this moment,
Yeah.
because if we don't know, it's not going to be implemented, and it's going to give a lot of false hope to people.
Yeah.
So that's a big struggle as well, because if sometimes people don't understand, but then again the transparency counts in, I guess. Like, people are transparent about everything and they know that we are
Mhm.
trying hard. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
That's not working. Um, okay, I pray that your project gets execution and some great
Yeah.
results as well very soon. Okay, would you like to tell me that do you have any placemaking mantra that you love, or anything that you focus on before you work?
Can you repeat the question because it was a little bit of break?
Sure. Any placemaking mantra that is your favorite, or any quote that you love to remember whenever you start your work?
I have two quotes that I want to mention, but I don't know if they are my core one. The first one is the one that Fred Kent says that you have to turn everything upside down to turn the right side up. And I think this is a little bit of the creative thinking and reapproaching and being flexible. Um, and the other, and of course, that community is the expert for me is also kind of, I don't know if it's my mantra, but it definitely drives me. Um, but something that I think we say a lot in Greece, also as a phrase, that everything happens for a reason. And I don't want to put it in a, fatalistic way that, okay, we let ourselves go to the fate, etc. But more than trust the process. Everything happens for the reason and trust the process where it will lead you. And this so far in my life and in my profession, it has led to the right way, to be honest. Yes. So this is what I would like to share.
That's true, because
Mhm.
trusting the process saves us a lot of energy, a lot of frustration.
Mm.
And we are like,
Yeah.
okay, let's leave it. We have tried our
Yes.
best and see how it goes.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. Mm.
yeah, that's I think that's the reason why your spirit is so up and very innovative as well.
Yeah.
Most
Thank
advice
you.
suggest that. Do you have any opinion about Pakistan or placemaking in Pakistan?
Actually, I would like you to share because I have checked your project there. Um, but for me, Pakistan, it's a context that generally with the East I have feel connection to, but it seems so unfamiliar to me. I know the popular, let's say, discourse about what might be happening in the country and all of these things, but I was actually hoping to hear from you. Um, if you don't mind me asking a question back. Yes.
Sure. I think this is something that's been happening for some past few conversations, that people ask me things. I was like, yeah, that's the right way of doing it. Yeah, I'm here to tell you anything that you have the question for, I think.
Yes. I mean, I know that you're working with youth and children, so I understand that this is part of the core of your work. But if there was one change that you could make today into how you are trying to make change, what would that be? What would be a focal point that you think by touching it, by changing this, it will open up completely how you are able to bring social change and do placemaking in Pakistan?
Okay. Just a second. Okay, I think that I have stepped on that change already. Like this
Mm.
year, um, like initially I used to think that, okay, I've been through this, and I think things should happen this way. But this year I kept reminding myself, let people tell you. I just create the opportunity for them to speak up. And also not fixating on few people to speak up if they are not willing to. I move on to the other ones. Like it was my own self that I needed to fix, or I needed to change a mind shift, to see the change happening. And
Mhm.
it is happening that way. For example, this year we like a lot of things. Sometimes we think that like 5 years I've spent on a work, that let's do it this way, and I
Mhm.
came to the conclusion the answers were look perfect, but the people I wanted to work with, they weren't willing to work.
Mm.
I had to spend energy on them. But I found someone else who needed help and who were open to collaboration. But I wasn't able to fit in my lessons into their place right away. But then I said, let's see how the process goes. And that opening up to the opportunity and to a different perspective or a different place led me to somewhere very nice. And I learned in a month that the things are coming into one place. All my lessons are coming to one place, but they are being practiced in a different flow that I had in my mind, and it's much better. And I think by the end of this year, I would be able to put it in a manner that explains how it happened. I think that always the shift or the change starts from ourselves. It's never from the outside. So I have believed that for a long time, but practicing it was a different thing. Knowing something and then practicing it is a very different thing. So I think the change that I would say would shift is one that it's me,
Mm.
and then inspiring them, the other ones, to at least start from themselves, not always from the outside. So this is something that I would say, and I'm trying to change as well. And also that I've attempted a lot of times. I do try that people speak up, and but they don't. So I then have to take the lead and tell them what to do.
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
trying my best to find answers that we sit in a room if we are not doing anything and just leave the room after the 1 hour meeting. If there's nothing is done, be content with it. At least we sit
Yeah.
there. I want to test this out as well. Like
Mm.
I will not speak up. You have to do it. Maybe
Mm.
it does something. Maybe it changed something, but I'm not sure. I have tried this in the meetings online, but let's see how it goes. I'm
Mm.
still learning. So if you have any suggestion, do tell me.
No, but it sounds very relevant to me, again, what you're saying. And something that we discuss a lot with our community of placemakers, especially here in Greece, is very much what you just described. To what extent do we, as facilitators, but also professionals
Yeah.
in this field, lead these processes? And okay, let's say that we lead them and we force people, you know what I mean, to talk and participate. What happens when we leave? Because at some point we might leave. And we have been seeing lots of examples here in Greece, and we have felt it as well in our own projects as well. But the moment that you take ourselves out of the community, of the system, I won't say it collapses, but it definitely changes the dynamics. So, yes, it takes a lot of work. I agree with you internally to be able to find your position in these things.
Yes, and also one thing that I had to change, I had to unlearn my
Mhm.
professional learnings
Mhm.
and the practice that was ingrained in me. Like it took me
Yeah.
a very long time to unlearn the things and to hold myself back from designing something
Mhm.
right away and let people talk. You know,
Exactly.
bringing out ideas from them and being content with it. Like I
Mhm.
think that uh, the position of a placemaking leader um, is a lot about accepting that it's not about you, it's about
Mm,
others,
yeah.
and you have to let them have it.
Mm.
So that shift was very important as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
And
yes, sorry.
uh,
Go
how
ahead.
many people are you in the community of placemaker Pakistani? Peacemaker
Um,
Pakistani.
that I would say that since I was able to relate to placemaking
Mhm.
just by heart, and a lot of people do,
Mm.
but they are not able. We were not able to explain it to people. Even
Mm.
so, people have taken a lot of time, like 5 years in 2021 when I started reaching out to people to join the movement. They weren't able to do it. But after
Mm.
spending some time that I've tried to spread the word and do things and show it through the process, now some people have joined in
Mm.
and they're reaching out and let's see how it goes. I wouldn't be able to say that how many people are part of the community yet
Mhm.
because this year I'm trying to develop the network
Mm. I understand. Mm-hmm.
on a very like in a professional manner, I would say. Initially, it was
Mm-hmm.
just about talking, but now that people can actually engage with it and show it that they understand, we can only know it this year.
Mm.
It was the
Mm-hmm.
understanding the terms and then um, reaching out to people from the clarity. It needed time. So now let's see. I'm trying to do that, and again, people are holding back their opinions. It's very difficult to make
Mm.
them talk.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
for that, I have to talk. Then I have to go through the shock of vulnerability, and then I come back to it. So it's like that. I know a lot of people who are doing placemaking, but they don't know the term placemaking, or they
Yeah,
think that it is
exactly.
placemaking. And then again, very few people, to be honest, are actually doing things after engaging the community.
Mm.
Still a lot of people think that changing things upside down or changing transformation of a place is placemaking.
Mm.
uh,
Yeah.
it's not that. It's community driven. It's not the professionals driven. It's community driven.
Yeah.
So to understand, make them understand this is a real struggle for me, and I'm on it.
Mm.
Like if I can do it, you can do it too. So that's
Yeah. Mm. This is the difficult part. And I mean, even for here in Europe, we are now making now this transition of finally understanding what placemaking is, and it takes some time. Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah. But I think you have the, of course, you have the drive, but you also have this energy that even through the internet now, I get it that you are able to mobilize people. So, in a
I
year from now, I think we will be talking and you will be saying about all these nice people that you have in your team. Yeah.
yes, I'm very much positive about it now.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any advice for the young professionals who are joining in?
Yeah. I'm not good at giving advices. No, but be yourself. I think our discussion for the last hour has been about being true to yourself and listening to your what your gut has to say. And I think this is the best way to make also work and profession part of your life. I think placemaking is very much about it. You cannot do placemaking if you are not a placemaker within you, kind of. So yes.
That's true. That's true. That's why it's a struggle to find people who are actually the placemakers. Like, you know, I'm not here like talking about the people in a way, in a negative manner, but it's just that I know how hard it is, you know,
Mm,
to be a placemaker and to do something for people. So, if I'm reluctant in having someone
mm,
on board, just because I know their professional skills are great, but their
yeah,
skills of doing the teamwork and their skills of talking to people and understanding them is lacking. I can't
mm,
work with them. And it's very difficult for people to understand. They see it as I'm s- I'm something I'm maybe I'm arrogant or something, but I'm very caring about the people. Like
mm,
I know how much energy it takes. So not all can
mhm,
be the placemakers, but the right ones are needed. And I'm I have actually seen a few who are the placemakers by heart. but they don't know the term yet. They are not in this related to the profession of urban planning or place design, so it's very hard for them to accept it. But
Mhm.
I'm on it. So
Yes.
I'm going to have them on board very soon, inshallah. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
something great. And I'm very much overwhelmed and overjoyed to talk about it. Thank you so much for asking me as well. And I'm glad that I shared something about Pakistan with you, and you're able to have some perspective about it.
Until I visit in person and get to know in person. Yes.
Yes, yes. And I'm looking forward to hosting a lot of people here because you guys are so awesome and you want to be here. It's such a joy to know that. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. And thank you so much, Vivian, for this chat, for making time for it. It was lovely talking to you and learning from you. The lessons were valuable. Um, until next time, thank you so much and take care.
thank you, Asba. Thank you for inviting me. It is always very
Thank
nice to talk to people from the other side of the world who are doing beautiful things with a beautiful smile.
you.
And see you soon, I will say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you and take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.